Good morning, everyone, and to our followers this morning. My name is Schultz-Methi. I'm the civil legal practitioner at the Pretoria local office, and this morning we're going to have a very lovely discussion about a topic that is quite eminent and popular, which is cyberbullying. Please note that if you have any questions, please put your questions in the comments below, and I will be sure to answer that. Thank you very much for joining us. The topic that we're going to discuss this morning is cyberbullying, and I think it's one that we can address on all age groups and all spheres of social interaction. So I think the first thing that we can identify and maybe address is, what is cyberbullying? What is this phenomenon? How do we overcome it, and what does it entail, and what makes it different from the traditional format of bullying? I think what stands out in this regard is that cyberbullying is a form of bullying that's done via your digital formats. So on a cell phone, on a tablet, on an iPad, on a computer. So that's the method in which it has been done. Is it vastly different from traditional bullying in a sense of how it affects people? For sure, without a doubt. It's far more personal, far more inclusive. And if one has to really ask what makes it stand out, the crucial part is the accessibility thereto. It goes far more beyond the traditional format of bullying. Now, I think we've all come across bullying as adults, but I think what is more scary about this phenomenon is that it affects children. It affects our young children and our adolescents far more than we can comprehend, and I'm more than willing for us to go into that discussion. So let's look at the different types of cyberbullying. I think that would help, because if you want to identify, or if you feel you are being bullied, you need to understand what form of bullying am I going through. And I'm here to just perhaps talk you through that so that we can see what are the different types of bullying, how do you address them, what is your recourse in those aspects. And I think we're living in such a digitized world right now that people are having their income from YouTube channels. And what if in that sphere you're being bullied or attacked? What is your right of recourse? And I think here at Legal Aid, we've actually done a few cases where we've helped people who have been defamed on their YouTube channel via another subscriber. Very, very, very interesting topics for us. Let's start with the first one, and possibly the most common, which is cyber stalking or being harassed in the platform of cyberbullying. So that is either on your social media page, via SMS, via phone call, where you are constantly being harassed in the cyberspace. This one is a very common one. It's a very popular one, and you can. I'm careful to balance it, but it's also one that's common with a gender-based aspect, where females are being harassed and bullied, very much so on their cell phones, and you don't feel safe. Your life is threatened. These are realities of challenges that we have when it comes to this kind of bullying. And what is your recourse in this regard? And the first thing that you must remember is that the Domestic Violence Act does protect you from this kind of behavior. So should this transpire, you merely just take your phone, the evidence that you have on your phone, and try go and see if you can't get assistance. Now, the challenging part here is that we might face is if you do not know the identity of the person who is bullying you, because this is the difficulty that we come with a digitized society. Someone can bully me and I do not know the identity. And I think it's important, especially if it's on a social media platform, because we find that is where it stems from. You can hold the social media app accountable to provide you with the identity of that person. There is means and ways of doing so, and you can then proceed with that aspect. With regards to the gender-based aspect, if a female is being harassed by someone she knows, it makes it easier for us to approach the police and more efficiently the domestic violence courts, because they are in a position to assist and grant interim orders until such time as the matter is heard. So I think that one covers the harassment and the cyber stalking form of cyberbullying. So be cautious in identifying what is it that I am currently experiencing. what is it that I'm currently going through, and what is my first point of contact? Who do I call first? Who do I reach out first to? And that is when I love to speak to parents, and I say, watch what is happening on the cell phones. Interact with your children, engage with them, understand with them, because they are living in a world that we cannot possibly comprehend, because it's so digitized, it's so advanced, and they're not speaking. So you do not know what is happening on the cell phone, and you're not in a position to help, because with children, usually their first point of help is their parents. So I'd really, really advise parents to just reach out to the children, communicate with them, ask them what is going on their phone, put your parental controls on these YouTube videos and their social media, monitor that. I'm not saying go and be evasive on their privacy, that's a conversation for another day, but monitor it. I think we can then look at the second one, which I think is also one that has been common, but kind of in a way that the law has come to address this aspect. And I think it's important for me to just place it on record that we don't have one set piece of legislation that deals with all these type of bullying in South Africa. What we do have is we've got various pieces of legislation that assist in finding a recourse. So when we look at the one of identity theft or impersonation, that is when someone, I'm trying to think of a very recent example, someone hacks your Instagram account and they pretend to be you, or someone goes and hacks your emails, someone hacks your system and gets through all your personal information. This one is a very, very big one, because it's got vast implications, because all of us do our online banking. All of us have our personal information digitized. We don't write on the notebook anymore. We have everything available to us. So if someone accesses that, they really access your personal identity. So this is covered in various ways, and I think we can all agree that the recent piece of legislation that comes to mind is the POPI Act, the Protection of Personal Information Act. And this is where the people you subscribe to undertake to protect your personal information. And that is what I would really advise anyone who subscribes to any form of social media, creates an email account, whatever it is that you're finding makes it convenient for you to be digitized, read your terms and conditions. Those terms and conditions, the fine print, is the one that's going to give you guidance in terms of how am I protected in this regard, and if I am not, what is my recourse? And that for me is a very, very interesting one. Hacking and all of hacking and tracking and all of those kind of offences are fully covered in the Cyber Bill, the Cyber Act. It's now called the Cyber Crimes Act, and that really, really will assist us in that regard. I think we then have sanctions that can be done once someone is found guilty of that offence, which I think is a great progression that we have done in South Africa. The other one that we can look at, which is which really relays with the matter of the children that I'm speaking to, is a form of cyberbullying called the happy slappy. What is happy slappy? And I think most of you have witnessed it, and maybe we don't grasp the severity of it, but when someone walks into a room and physically assaults another person, and the third person is just there video recording it, that's called happy slappy. And what do we do in that regard? That for me is a very popular one, because the times we really do witness that and we see it so imminent is at schools. I don't know how many of you have seen it in your live feeds on whatever social media you're subscribed to. Happy slappy is probably one of the most intense ones, because you are being bullied in two spheres. The traditional way, where you are physically shuffled, hit, assaulted, and it's digitized. And remember, I started my opening statement by saying accessibility. It can just go shooting up nationwide in a matter of seconds. It is on every social media platform, and worst part, it is reposted. It doesn't just stay there, like someone saves it and puts it on their status, or someone redirects it, shares it on their story. Whatever form of social media platform allows you to reshare, it's often done. And we ask ourselves, what is the recourse in that regard? Now, when you look at something like that, you can just think of how many offenses have been committed just in that. Was my permission given to make that recording? No, that infringes my privacy completely. Assault, how do you just walk in and hit someone? What is my recourse then? With children, you immediately approach the police. The child justice route will then follow through to find out how can we assist these children in behaving in such manners. With regards to adults, you can open an assault case. You can go for a domestic violence. Don't come near me. You've offended me. There are channels that are available that you might not think are available for the cyberbullying, but are actually there for you. So don't hesitate to explore that. And if ever you have concerns or need guidance, I think the officers are ready to assist and redirect you in terms of where do you go? What is your next step in that regard? Let's try to remember that. I think something that one realizes, and we often see it on your YouTube channels where people become very personal, is a form of cyberbullying called outing. So what is outing? It's exactly that. When I have shared personal information with you, you go to a social media platform and you out that information to others. You blurb that privacy information. My intention was never for you to do that. I came to you in that form of, this is confidential, I need your assistance, or this is just me coming and confiding in you, and you go and you blurt it out on social media platforms or to people that you are not supposed to. And that is a form of cyberbullying, because when we look at what bullying essentially does, it's there to embarrass, it's there to humiliate. It has severe psychological repercussions, and I think living in today's day and age where we're so sensitive towards mental health, it's crucial to understand what are the repercussions of cyberbullying. And it's far more detrimental to that of the traditional form of bullying, because traditional form of bullying was far more secluded. A few people knew about it. It was in a social setting where, here and again people would defend you without you knowing perhaps, or this is what's said, and it doesn't really go out there, and you kind of protected for the rumor of what has transpired going forth. Whereas with cyberbullying, you don't have that protection, so immediately it increases anxiety, sleepless nights, paranoia, all these side aspects that really can affect mental health. So when we're looking at something like outing, can you imagine what that has done to someone? I'm here, I've confided in you, here you are out there exposing everything that was never supposed to do that. You have breached my privacy. That is confidential, that is private. And what is my recourse in that regard? And I think it's very important that we analyze stuff like that, because that outing is one of the most difficult forms of cyberbullying that we don't know how to fully get to the resolution thereof, because we can't necessarily say it's defamation because there was truth. It's something that I've come to you about truth, that there's truth in it. So how do we then approach an aspect like that? Do we sue? What is our basis? What is the course of action? And I think this is something that our legal team in South Africa can look into, the legislature. What legislation do we go to? Yeah, it has taken my private information, but the POPI Act strictly covers data. This is not data. This is private information about a situation or something that I'm going through. So how do we then do this? And I think a very popular form of outing is also a form where we show embarrassing photos of someone. I've taken a picture of you, and this is not what you have given me permission to explore on or to share, and I go and I do that. So what is it that we then do in instances like that? And I always say that if that is the case, report that photo on your social media platform, wherever you might be. Report that photo, because you did not give permission for that photo to be distributed. And usually it's photos that are out there to embarrass you, not for you to have felt very proud of sharing. So I think that is very, very important. So when looking at outing, the most popular one is embarrassing photos or leaking something that you have taken in the moment that I did not agree to. And we can maybe link it to a moment of being frustrated and you react in a manner that is not usually you, and this is now used against you. You did not give permission for that to be leaked. So that is a form of bullying that is now really, really up and coming. And I think sometimes, and maybe on the side note or for another day, we can talk about things like revenge porn and sexting, because those two clearly come and they highlight themselves. They're not necessarily a form of cyberbullying because they have their own dynamics, but they run hand in hand with it. So it's important that you look at such avenues, and maybe we can have a discussion about that at some stage. The other form of cyberbullying that we can look into is called denigration. So when you break it up and you hear denigration, this involves sending or posting malicious gossip or rumors about a person to damage their image, their well-being. And this becomes very, very important because it includes posting or sending digitally altered photographs or someone to others, particularly pictures that portray that the victim in a sexualized or harmful way. So this one is, when you hear the word denigration, it's degrading. It's there to degrade someone, their humanity, their dignity, and you are creating a picture that is not true. This is not true, you've done this. And this is where you've got full recourse in terms of the law. You've got a civil claim in this regard where you can say, you have falsified photos, this has been the effect, I am now suffering from all of this, and as a consequence, you are then liable. So I think this is a very, very important one to be very cautious of and very aware of. And when you look at all these forms of cyberbullying, one can ask ourselves, how do I prevent myself from being in a situation where I'm not cyberbullied? Or how do I ensure that I protect myself from not being cyberbullied? And there's far and very few ways in which you can. The first one, which is the most unrealistic, is to remove yourself from society and go and live on an island by yourself. Impossible. You need telecommunication. You need to be on a phone. We're living in a world that is digitized. So you have to find a mechanism that is going to protect you. So we can look at the type of apps that we use. When you select your privacy settings, are you ensuring that you're protecting your privacy? Do you tick all the boxes that you need to? Before you sign up to an app, have you read the terms and conditions regarding privacy? I think those are very important things that you can do to assist yourself in ensuring that you are protected. Does this app run concurrently with another app? And if it does, if I'm not signed up to that other one, am I protected from my privacy with that other one? So do your research, thorough research before you engage with an app or social media platform. And even in those regards, you should be able to read the privacy. Select what you want to share, with who you want to share, who can see your profile, who cannot see your profile, what are your restrictions, what are not your restrictions. YouTube is lovely. You can restrict so many things and specify it specifically to your character and what is appealing for you. And once again, I love to go back to children. How are we protecting our children from what they are seeing, because they do what they see? Are we ensuring that the cartoons that they are watching are indeed age appropriate? This is all forms of where we give them a platform to be cyberbullied. I think another one is gaming. When they are gaming, are you ensuring that it's with people their age? What if it's with someone elderly who's starting to bully them through that platform? Hey, if I win, I want you to get this from your mom or that, or it's so dynamic, it's so broad that you can never be too comfortable in saying that I'm protected. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's. Make sure that you have protected yourself in terms of privacy in order to make sure that so there are very far and few limited aspects that you can say. And I think if one wants to then take it as far as saying be cautious on your social setting. just watch what is happening in your surroundings. Be observant. Be aware of what is going on around you. I think these are very much, they might not be the best legal advice, but it's we're looking at prevention, and before anything can get to the legal platform, prevention is the key. It's what's going to help assist, so that should you, after all these mechanisms, still not be protected, you have a thorough case to say that this is the recourse that I seek. I think for now that's what we're going to address. Do we have any questions?
We do. We have about 4 questions.
Okay.
Arlene asks, what can they do if they are a victim of cyber stalking?
Okay. So what was advised in the beginning is when you are cyber stalked, there's one question that we have to ask: do we know the identity or not? Because the dynamics of digitization is someone can cyber stalk you and you don't know their identity, or someone can cyber stalk you all the way from a different country. So what you need to do is, I think, on social platforms with regards to cyber stalking. And I think what is important is also that cyber stalking threatens your harm and intimidation through constant online. Report that person. Constantly report that person if it's on social platforms. If you do know the identity of that person and they are within your vicinity, you can approach the harassment court. You will be able to get recourse and be heard in that platform, because you will have proof that this person is cyber stalking you. That is very important. If you know the identity, the Harassment Act does fully assist in that regard.
Sean asks, how do we regulate online classes from cyberbullying? With the move of education to online platforms, more children, more people are being exposed to cyberbullying. What can we do?
Very interesting question. I think when looking at large platforms to that extent and online courses, what would be important is maybe to just, I would say, there's always a comment section, and as though it makes it very easy for whoever's giving the class to answer questions on the comment, maybe it would be best if you limit the comment section and ask your students to find a way, either direct message you their questions, because that limits interaction between the students. It limits their interaction. So you're in a position to then say, okay, you then DM me your question and I will be in a position to respond to that question. I think that would be the most effective way. Although it might take longer, it is safer. And, prevention is better than cure.
Lucille wanted to find out, in terms of tackling outing.
Okay.
If you do the following maturely, if you make your own statement on your own social media platforms, to kind of denounce or rectify what's been stated, could that be a way to tackle outing?
It's a very fine line, because by doing that you're opening a can of worms to more criticism, more trolling is what we call it these days, where someone trolls on your account. I think the best way to do with regards to outing is hold that person accountable and ask them to correct the statement that they have made. Alternatively, you will pursue them with further recourse. That would be a better solution, in my view, of how to tackle outing. Outing is also another sensitive one, where this information or this embarrassing pictures that have been sent, you've never given permission for that. So on various grounds, you are able to ask the various platforms that have posted this to remove it. And if they don't, then you've also got recourse in that regard. So I think that would be my best advice regarding outing and how to handle it.
And then finally, Lucille also commented about WhatsApp.
Okay.
And they're noting that WhatsApp is very popular, and people often don't realize how dangerous it can be. There are many privacy holes. Can you speak a bit more about that?
Look, when it comes to WhatsApp, the challenge that we have with it is it's such a basic standard form of communication this day. With your employer, with your friends, with your family across the countries, you guys can communicate for close to nothing at any given time. But what is very important with WhatsApp is that you must read your privacy. Read your terms and conditions. And what I like about WhatsApp now is that they're sending messages. They'll tell you when they've changed something, and they'll ask for your permission to do so. And even in your settings, if you go onto your cell phone and you look at your settings, you're in a position to quite restrict and restructure your WhatsApp to a point that really works for you. I think something very simple is you can now make the decision if you want someone to see if you've read the message or not, the blue tick option. You can nullify that. I think that's very, very interesting. Or you can decide who sees your status, who doesn't see your status. You can decide if you want to see statuses and if you don't want to see statuses. So I think WhatsApp is something that's very, very challenging. But if you read the terms and conditions, you will then know what you have entered into, the contract that you have entered into by subscribing to the app.
We have a follow-up question from Arlene.
Okay.
Arlene asked about cyber stalking.
Yes.
They're now asking, how do we legally deal with child-on-child cyberbullying or a group of children targeting one child?
That's a very nice one. That's a very, very nice one. I would definitely say that depending on the type of cyberbullying, the child justice system does allow. You will then go to the police station, have a case opened, which will then allow this child to go through the channel. It's not the most convenient, but if an offense has been committed, the Child Justice Act does allow for an inquiry to be held in order to deal with that. In the alternative, and I think this might be the better option, would be to approach the local social workers. Go to the social workers, explain to them that this is what is happening. And if it's in a school, hold the school accountable. They need to know that they have to protect the children, especially during school time. So go to the school, make them know this is the issue. Ask them what they have done to help resolve that, because there is sometimes, in most of the cases, the school does have a social worker assigned that can assist, that can come in and say that this is how we can assist them. Because often child on child is definitely just a child reacting to their circumstance. So I always say that with children we have to be extra careful, because we don't know what is leading them to do that. Something that children are doing a lot now is sexting, sending naked pictures, and they're not aware that that is an offense. That is a crime. You cannot be sending naked pictures of kids under a certain age to one another. You can't do that. But here they are doing it, and again, supervision. They need to be watched, monitored, what is happening on the cell phones. So I hope I've answered Arlene's questions. There's two forms in which you can do it. Approach the social work organization nearby, or go the child justice route, depending on the severity of the cyberbullying. If it's the harassment, you can do it at the harassment court. It allows for protection of minor children. And if it's, just have a look at identify the type of bullying, and then you should have a recourse within those three platforms that I've just mentioned. I hope I've made that clear. Are we good? Okay. I hope you guys have had some insight. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you do have further questions on this topic, you can call the Legal Aid toll-free number. It's 0800 110 110. This is available on weekdays between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. And if you cannot call, you can send us a please call me. We will call you back, and the number is 079 835 7179. Thank you very much for joining us.